How would Uriah Faber at 145 pounds do against 205ers like Forrest Griffin, Quentin Rampage Jackson, Thiago Silva, Vanderlei Silva, Chuck Liddell? How would he do?
Not well.
Not well?
What's your point?
My
He
point
would
is
not
simple.
do well.
My point is pretty simple. Randy Couture was mismatched in terms of weight by Brock Lesnar by the same thing with Uriah Faber and 205ers. Any thought with the sport of mixed martial arts evolving that heavyweight division now with Lesnar at top at that peak of the weight, perhaps some changes are required?
He was outmatched too against Tim Sylvia. Tim Sylvia cuts weight to get down to 265 pounds. He was outmatched by Gabe Gonzaga. Randy Couture has been outmatched his entire career except for when he was down at light heavyweight. That's why he went to light heavyweight. There's some big boys at heavyweight. Randy Couture made a decision to come in at 220 pounds. He didn't have to come in at 220. That's what he came in at. I mean, he walks around at 230. He could have been bigger. He was bigger earlier on in his career. He made that decision. No, just because Randy Couture is a small heavyweight, we wouldn't change anything. There's some big boys in that division. Heath Herring is huge. He's huge.
Back to the topic of Randy. You just think about what's really next for him. Do you think he's going to go to light heavyweight? Is he going to perhaps fight the loser of the Frank Mir-Nogueira fight? What do you think is next for him?
I don't know. I think that Randy Couture is still one of the best heavyweights in the world. You never know when a guy's going to show up and look 45 years old. I can tell you this. Randy Couture did not look 45 years old on Saturday night. That first round was an exciting first round. He historically had problems getting up off his back when bigger guys were on top of him. He got up off his back every time Lesnar was on top of him. He was striking well with him. He did good in the clinch. He almost scooped him up and took him down. Lesnar grabbed the fence. I thought Randy Couture looked phenomenal on Saturday night and didn't look 45 years old. It's up to Randy now what he wants to do with his career.
He's having issues with the guys over at Affliction. And the last time you and I spoke, we talked about Todd Beard. You mentioned he was a career criminal, but the thing is now with Todd Beard, he's resigned from Affliction. Again, Dana White's crystal ball, what's happening with Affliction in 2009?
Same thing. As if it wasn't bad enough before, now it ends up the guy who's one of the owners of the company is a career criminal, and making threats and threatening women and, his history of violence and whatever he has. If all the other problems they had weren't bad enough, now this. They're done.
Mark Cuban, he's in a little bit of trouble.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Obviously, I guess considered one of your competitors. Any statement or comment to make about his situation?
Mark Cuban was never one of our competitors. Mark Cuban was a guy who was sticking his nose in other people's business where it didn't belong. It'd be like me not being involved in the NBA at all and going down to Dallas and trying to get one of his players to go play for the Lakers. That's what it was like. And we had already beat Mark Cuban in court in the whole Randy Couture thing. He was already defeated. Now he's got bigger problems than trying to, nose around in MMA.
Well, it's tough to argue with that analogy. One analogy I thought that I still haven't forgotten from one of your video blogs was the only way Kimbo Slice can get into the UFC is to go through the Ultimate Fighter. And I keep asking you, any update on that? Have these guys even picked up the phone and said, you know what, we're serious, we're in?
No. I haven't heard anything from Kimbo, Obviously, if Kimbo really believes that he wants to be a mixed martial artist and can be a mixed martial artist and would like to fight in the UFC, all he's got to do is pick up the phone and call me. And like I said, he can get on the reality show. I would never just put him in the UFC. He's not at that level. He's not a good fighter. He could try to make it on through the Ultimate Fighter.
Pull up the stopwatch. How long does Kimbo Slice last with Brock Lesnar in the octagon?
Not long. Seconds.
Seconds?
He lasted seconds with a kid who, number one, wasn't even his weight class. He was lighter and actually moved up to fight him that night. Didn't win the Ultimate Fighter and didn't win any fights in the UFC, and he knocked Kimbo Slice out in 13 seconds. Brock Lesnar might knock his head out into like the 7th row or something.
I hear you. Okay, let's move back to the Ultimate Fighter situation. Season 9 coming up. It's right now it's being promoted as USA versus Canada. We know Michael Bisping is in there, USA versus the UK. We know that Michael Bisping is in as a coach, and some of my sources are telling me Franklin doesn't want to be in as a coach. And there was some talk after UFC, the last event in Vegas, that Damian Maia might be a coach. Has any decision been made to see who's going to be on the other side of Bisping?
No, we're still kicking it around, and trust me, if I want Rich Franklin to be a coach in the next season of The Ultimate Fighter, I'll talk him into it.
It doesn't surprise me. Now, the next Canadian date, we were hearing Montreal perhaps in April. Anything specific at all you can share with us?
No, I don't have anything specific except that, yes, this spring we are coming back to Montreal.
Any rumors on the main event?
No, none at all. I mean, we're not even done the end of this year yet. I can't really predict what we're going to be doing in the spring yet.
Little birdie told me Matt Serra versus Matt Hughes perhaps happening in Montreal. Truth?
No.
Nothing? All right.
Is that fight going to happen? Absolutely. That isn't one we're talking about for Montreal right now.
One of the fighters on your roster happens to be a blogger for this for Sportsnet, Sportsnet.ca blogger Jason McDonald.
Yeah.
He's recently signed on to take on Wilson Govea. Your thoughts on that bout?
I love that kid. McDonald is always a shocker. He comes out, people expect him to lose, and he pulls out big wins. Tough kid. That's a really good fight. That's a really good fight.
Now, you and I had spoke off air about the UFC perhaps coming to Toronto. We did some numbers and got to thinking, hey, you know what? How close are you to coming, bringing your show, your Octagon here to Toronto?
No, obviously, it's a huge goal of mine right now. First, I have to get New York and Massachusetts done in the United States. Once those two are done, I'm not kidding you, I'm camping out up here. I'm probably going to buy a house up here. I'm going to be here so much. I'm going to be sitting out on the steps every day waiting for everybody to come to work to get this deal done.
All right, Dana, thank you very much. Anything you want to say specifically to a national Canadian audience?
Get your tickets to GSP Penn now because there's not many left. It's going to be a great fight.
There you have it, UFC President Dana White.